Hi everyone, I'm Lindsay from the Fitness Lair and welcome to the meal prep video. Today I'm going to run you through the when, where, why, what, and how on how to meal prep and teach you everything that I possibly can think of today. So let's get started. So first things first, why do we meal prep? We are going to eat the food that's most conveniently available to us, whether that is something that is takeout, something that's in the pantry, or the food that we have prepped in our fridge, something that is in alignment with our goals. Whatever is most conveniently available to us is likely what we're gonna eat. Even if the food that's prepped is maybe not the most amazing, delicious experience, if it's ready and available for you in a moment when you're coming home late from work or you've had a bad day or whatever, and you just don't feel like cooking, if you can just pull it out of the fridge, heat it up and eat it, you're most likely just going to do that versus having to make an extra stop to get takeout or versus making something from the pantry that's maybe not really in alignment with your goals. We want to make the healthy foods the most easy available foods for us, and that means we are going to have to make them prepared because they don't just magically show up in the pantry, unfortunately. When we're unprepared, what do we tend to go to? Usually fat and carbs. They're very easy to find. You can find them anywhere. So our main focus today is going to be prepping our protein. There is definitely more you can prep if you want to, but protein is going to be the number one thing that's going to help you move forward with your goals. Now, I will say, when I was planning this video, I kind of got all up in my head and I thought, oh my God, I'm doing the meal prep video. I don't really meal prep. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to go find these recipes and think of all this food I'm going to make for this week. And then I just thought, no, Lindsay, this is not the point of this. I am like you. I am busy. I have things going on. I don't have time to just spend 4 hours on my Sunday meal prepping or whatever it takes. I don't have time to have these like new recipes, and frankly, I just don't even care. But I'm just not that person, and I know a lot of people are similar to me. So this video is going to be very basic, simple, easy meal prep. And if you're looking for something that's gonna show you how to plan every single day to the T, have all these fancy containers, every single thing you're eating is prepped and planned and in the container, this is not the video for you. However, there are many of those videos on YouTube already. This one is for the busy folks like me. It is important to build meals around your protein, and protein is gonna be the number one macronutrient that is gonna move you quickly towards aesthetic goals, health goals, and as well as performance goals. So we really need to have that as the center of our focus. There are other things, of course, we can prep to make our lives easier. However, having your protein is gonna be the absolute number one thing that you're gonna wanna focus on. So having said that, there are some things that you can actually have just easily available that you don't have to do anything to prepare them. Protein is one of the most difficult things to prepare because it is typically like a raw meat that needs to be kind of thought into what it's gonna be, because you can't just throw it in plain and eat it. You're probably gonna get sick of that quite quickly. So there are definitely ways to make the meat taste better. Those things take a lot of planning. So here are a few things that you can just have in your pantry if you need to just grab something. So the first one, canned tuna, canned salmon. That's gonna be super helpful. It's a very lean protein source, meaning there isn't much fat in it. And it can be used on many things. Like you can make them into sandwiches, you can make tuna melts, you can put them on veggies as like a tuna wrap. Same with salmon. You can make tuna or salmon burgers, many different things you can do with these. I'm gonna see if I can lose you guys right off the bat with sardines. So I know everyone loves to hate on sardines, but like, are they really that bad? I don't know. I like them. Maybe give them a chance. Maybe things have changed since the last time you had sardines. So these are actually a very small fish, which is some of the most healthy fish that you can eat. The larger ones can have some issues with like the metals in them compounding. So the small fish are definitely the best ones to have. And these have lots of healthy fats in them. So these are a really good option. This one I like, it's in the tomato sauce, and this one's kippered, so it's just kind of like a salty thing. Now, I'm brave enough to eat them on my own, but you might not be. But you can, I don't know, put them on crackers, a rice cracker, whatever, any kind of cracker that you like, or just eat them straight out of the can. Sometimes it's not about the most amazing food experience, it's just about getting in what you need. So, the next one I have is just eggs. So if you boil these ahead of time, you can have them in the fridge. Just cut them open, salt and pepper, or, oh, I didn't get it out, but I have the Clubhouse spicy pepper medley. Everyone is like, no, I don't like hot stuff, but honestly, it's just salt and pepper. That's just thebomb.com. It's just very flavorful and delicious, and it's amazing on eggs as well as raw vegetables. Egg whites is something, if I'm like making an omelet or something, there are days that I get home and I'm like, oh my God, the last thing I want to do is cook. We always have ham in the fridge, eggs in the fridge, mix it up, throw it in a pan, add some egg whites just for some extra protein. Eggs are a good protein source, but they also have a lot of fat in them, which is not necessarily bad. But when you're trying to get a lot of protein, if you get it from a high fat food source, then your calories are going to add up very quickly before you get the amount of protein that you need. So these are something I just add to it. Some people like egg whites on their own. Some people drink them. I'll eat sardines before I'll do that. But yeah, you can just fry these up and put some cheddar cheese on them or whatever. I also have an apple cinnamon egg white omelet that I've made before that a lot of people have actually really liked. Sounds gross, but I swear it's good. And then lastly, having protein powders can be very useful. I have a chocolate and vanilla. I actually have just a scoop of this after every one of my workouts just in water, but you can also put it in oatmeal. You can mix it into plain Greek yogurt, which I personally love plain Greek yogurt over the flavored kind. I won't eat it plain, but I like the flavor of it is really good, especially if you add like a little bit of a sweetener to it, and it's just very thick and creamy. Greek yogurt has much more protein than a standard yogurt. So these are great. And yeah, you can have like a chocolatey or yogurt or whatever. If you were to just take Greek yogurt, add protein powder to it, and then put some like fiber cereal and some berries in it, like that's a very good snack, or any kind of fruit that you like. I also make a protein mug cake that is just protein powder, baking powder, an egg. You don't have to use an egg, you can use egg whites, and a little bit of milk, and you can put some chocolate chips in there, and it's kind of like a little bit of a cakey texture. It is definitely not cake, and it won't taste like a cupcake, but it is kind of a little sweet treat that can curb a sugar craving and is literally pure protein. And then lastly, just some protein bars. This is not something that I would recommend eating all the time. You can absolutely have one a day or whatever if that works for you, but they are, I'd say, on the lower end of a quality food source. They have a lot of ingredients, there's sugar alcohols in them, just some weird things, but they kind of taste like a chocolate bar, so they can help curb, again, a sugar craving and help you get some protein in, which is going to help with your metabolic rate, help you recover, and a bunch of other great things. So protein powders, protein bars, they are not necessarily bad. They're not good. There are no good or bad foods. However, they can be a tool to help you reach your goals. And once you've made some progress in your goals and maybe up your calories, that is if you have a fat loss goal, then you may not find the necessity of those, and you may not need them every day, but they can be a tool to assist in getting rid of excess body fat, which is in turn going to make you healthier. So are these particularly healthy? I don't know. I don't even know what that really means. They're not the highest quality food. However, they are a tool that can help you reach better health. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of meal prep here today. To be honest, this is more than I would ever do at once. I'm only doing it for the sake of the video. I would do this throughout the week as is convenient for me, and I'll explain when to meal prep and some tips on that later. But for the sake of the video, I am doing meatloaf for tonight, And then I'm doing a whole bunch of ground beef to put in my freezer. I have 3 2-pound packs of hamburger here. We eat a lot of protein in this house. And then I have a pack of pork chops that I'm gonna marinate for tomorrow, because when I was looking through my fridge, when I was making my, let's see, I'll take you over here. Making my weekly planner here, I discovered that I have some zucchini that are near the end of their lifespan. So I was like, what can I make with that? We very often just have some sort of meat, some sort of vegetable, and then some sort of carb. So tomorrow's supper is gonna be marinated pork chops with zucchini. I will post this recipe because Riley is someone who hated zucchini, and this is his favorite vegetable, and he asks for it every time now because it has cheese on it. So we're having that, and then we're also, I'll have sweet potato with it, and he'll probably have rice or homemade potato wedges. So I have sweet potato here. The oven is on at 425. I have a cookie sheet with some tin foil. I am just going to put this on here and throw it in the oven. That will take about 40 to 60 minutes to cook. I did not poke any holes in it. I literally did nothing to it. I see that all the time on meal prep videos, and I have cooked many sweet potatoes in the oven, and not once has one ever exploded on me. So I don't understand the point of the holes. I don't do anything to it. I literally just throw it in the oven and I let that thing bake. Do not peel it. After it's cooked, the skin is gonna fall right off. Okay, so for this marinade for the pork chops, I'm just gonna wing it. I've never looked up a marinade in my life. I always just make sure there's a little bit of oil. There's something acidic. I'm gonna use vinegar, and then just some other stuff for some flavor. I'm going to measure this all with my heart. A little bit of vinegar, a little bit of oil. Soy sauce, always good for marinades because it's really salty and has lots of flavor. It's good on chicken, pork, and beef. Little Worcestershire. We have this barbecue sauce that no one likes, so it can go in there. And a little bit of Catalina. I don't know why, but Catalina is good on pork, and yeah, we don't use this very often either, so it's the way to get rid of it. I'm just gonna mix that up. I always use these Ziploc bags just because you can just kind of seal the bag around the meat, and then it really gets into every nook and cranny. These pork chops are straight out of the freezer. I just threw them in the microwave for like 2 minutes just to make them pliable so I could get them apart. But otherwise, yeah, I didn't have to really think that through or anything. I just took them out and threw them in this, and this can sit in the fridge until tomorrow. Okay, so while I'm filming this video, I'm gonna attempt to cook everything that I plan to for the week. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go over the other topics that I need to discuss. So right now I have onions cooking for my meatloaf. Pro tip, if you wanna have really good meatloaf, fry the onions first in butter and garlic, and then put that in your meat. Makes it way better. So we're doing meatloaf and these beans tonight, which I'm not gonna prep because they are very fast to cook. I'll probably try them in the air fryer this time. I usually just do them on the frying pan, but I've seen a few air fryer ways of cooking these, and I'm gonna try tonight. And then for the rest of this hamburger, I'm just gonna cook up ground beef. I always have a bunch of ground beef in the freezer. I'll show that in a minute, but I'm gonna start frying that up. And then the other meal that I have planned for some of this food is going to be a burrito bowl. So I'm gonna use the hamburger that I'm gonna make in that, and what else goes in that? Nothing that I really need to prepare, but we will be making rice tomorrow night with the pork chops, so I'll use that rice that we make tomorrow to go in my burrito bowl the next day. So that's kind of how I meal prep. I think like, okay, we're gonna make this night, I'll just make extra so I have it for that meal. I don't make it all at once. The day after that, we have chicken thighs planned, which I'm not gonna cook ahead because it's Friday night, and I know that we will have it'll be Friday night, and I know we'll have enough time to cook those. If we don't have time to cook the chicken thighs, we always just throw them in the slow cooker while we're gone for the day, and they just always turn out good. I always buy a bag salad. I know Jenna mentioned this in the grocery shop video. I have no idea when we're gonna eat this, but I know that one day this week is gonna go crazy and I'm gonna say, oh my God, I don't feel like cooking. Let's just eat some meat that we have and have it with a salad. It happens almost every week. So that, and then earlier this week, I made those chicken bites that I had posted, and I just kept some of the chicken out because I knew that the next day I was gonna make stir fry. So I made that, and then I ended up being alone that night, so no one else ate the extras. So I just packed it all up and I put that in my meal plan, so I know I'm just gonna eat this one of those days. So I try to think like, rolling in through my week, how is it gonna go? So I started with the chicken bites on Sunday. I could use the chicken for the next day in that stir fry, which I knew I had broccoli that was about to expire, so that's why I made the stir fry. I just look in my fridge and think, okay, I have this ingredient, what should I make to use that up? So stir fry was the one. And then today we're having the meatloaf. We will eat that sometime later in the week as well. Riley will probably have it for lunch. Tomorrow, the pork chops, zucchini, and the rice. And then the rice from that day, I'll have in my burrito bowl the next day. I know I won't be eating supper that night because I'm coaching gymnastics. And then Friday we have the chicken thighs, maybe a salad, who knows. And Saturday we'll have lots of leftovers. We always eat lunch out on Saturday after the gym, so I'm not too worried about that. And then Sunday I'll start the whole routine over again. Apparently helps you live forever, so we're gonna put lots of that in this meatloaf. Okay, so I had browned and sauteed these onions up a little bit before, and I'm just gonna add the garlic to the last little bit. Oops. And then I will throw this all in the meatloaf. Meanwhile, I have this ground beef going. This is for my freezer beef and for my burrito bowl. I'm not gonna mix it up yet because I want to have the meat touch the pan so it can brown up. The more it browns up, the more flavorful it's gonna be. And then we have our sweet potato just kicking it in there. I have my meat all mixed up here. I added a couple eggs. I have 3.5 pounds of meat here, so I can maybe even add another one, but I'm just gonna mix this up and see how it looks. You're supposed to add breadcrumbs and milk, but we never add the breadcrumbs. We just don't care. Doesn't really seem like we can even taste it, and I don't have any milk, so we're just gonna wing it without it. I'm gonna put a little bit of thyme in, and this is that seasoning I was talking about that I put on eggs and raw vegetables. So good. I'm gonna put a little bit of that in. I already put salt in here, and then I love just some rosemary leaves in this recipe. I'm just gonna run over and check this beef, see if it's browning. See how it's getting like that brown color, so I'm now gonna mix it up to get more of that browning happening on all the other stuff. Okay, I got that broke up and mixed up. To be honest, I usually don't even cook it till it's brown. I am like make things go as fast as possible. Okay, I got my meat mixed up. I added my onions and my garlic. I'll mix this up. I'm gonna form it into a loaf and I'm gonna leave it for later. As I said, I'm making all this stuff at once for the purpose of the video, but what I really normally would have done, I'm fortunate enough to work from home sometimes, so I would have made those onions and garlic in this pan, and then I would have thrown it in there. And while I was busy doing that, I would have put this beef in this pan and just let that cook, and maybe I would have gone and done some work while I did that. But we're doing it all at once today. I completely forgot to put the timer on that sweet potato, so no idea where it's at, but we will just keep checking it. Almost forgot to add Worcestershire. I think it's like 2 tablespoons. Again, measuring with my heart. Okay, so this meatloaf is all ready. All I have to do is I put it on a cookie sheet and I just form it into somewhat of a loaf, and we bake it just like that. All right, so my ground beef is all browned up and cooked, I'm now gonna add the taco seasoning. Sometimes I don't add the taco seasoning because I don't know what I'm making with the meat. Sometimes if I'm not gonna make it into tacos, it'll be like spaghetti sauce or a bulgogi, is that how you say it? A bulgogi bowl, which is like just some meat and rice and some raw vegetables on top with just like kind of a sauce on it. So sometimes I leave it plain, but I know I'm on a huge taco kick and I'm having a burrito bowl this week, and I'm gonna have tacos probably all next week for lunch. So I'm going to put taco seasoning on this meat and freeze it like that. A tip with ground beef, if you're buying it from the store and you don't know how lean it is, it's probably not going to be very, very lean, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. But it could be 80% meat and then 20% fat, which is like a fairly fatty cut of meat. Lean ground beef will be about 90-10, and then extra lean will be like maybe 93% meat, 7% fat. If you don't know what your meat is and you want it to be really lean, you can just take it over to the sink, fill your pan up with water after it's cooked, and the fat will rise to the top, and then you just kind of dump it off and all the fat will go with it. You can just rinse it a couple times like that, and then you'll know that you have like a really lean ground beef. I like to do that too. I won't do it with this because this is our own homegrown ground beef, and I know the butcher and I know he cut it super, super lean, so there's no extra fat. But if you're putting taco seasoning on it, you have to add water anyway to get the taco seasoning on it, so it's kind of nice to just drain it off, leave a bit of water in there, and mix it up. Next I'm going to add this stuff, which is just the best. Whatever you feel. I find if I use a little bit more of this, I need less seasoning. Lots of flavor. Okay, so I am not good at cooking and talking all at once. So the beef is done. Meatloaf ready to go. I'm gonna let this beef cool, and then I'm going to put it into little baggies and show you how I just kind of keep track of what I have in the freezer. And just keep on waiting for the sweet potato. I would always cook the sweet potato when I'm just doing something else. Like if I'm like having a bath at night or while like something else is cooking. Yeah, I would just always be doing that when I'm doing something else. I'm never just meal prepping like this. I'm always doing it when I'm doing something else. So if I'm cooking supper and we're using the barbecue, and I know I'm running low on chicken in our freezer, I'll just throw extra chicken on the barbecue. If I just made an omelet in the morning and I know I have no ground beef left, I'll just toss the ground beef in that pan that I just used while I eat breakfast. That's how I meal prep. It just works really well for me. I never run out of protein that way, and I never have to use my whole Sunday to get the groceries and prep and all that stuff. It's just, I just do it as I need it, and I just keep really good tabs on like where I'm at with my food that's coming up and what I have in the freezer. So getting back to the how, when, what, where, and why of meal prep. How, you kind of saw how I do it. Some people like to keep it really simple and just do 2 proteins, 2 carb sources, and 2 vegetables. That works really well. You can like mix and match it in different meals and create different things out of those 6 ingredients. I've done that before and it honestly works really well. So I'm kind of doing that. I just don't ever prep my vegetables. I just always like them done fresh. I find I have ways of cooking them that's very quick that I don't need to have leftover cooked vegetables. So I have my beef, ground beef, and I have meatloaf, and then my pork chops. I guess that's 3. But my ground beef is just always like running on rotation. So I have pork chops and I have this meatloaf. And then I know I'm gonna have rice, and I know I'm gonna have sweet potato. And then I'm also eating tortilla wraps with my tacos. And then the veggies, yeah. So you always wanna build your meals around your protein. Plan your protein first. You can always figure out something to make out of what you have for the meat. Something that we often do too is we make like big ticket items like a roast chicken, and then we can maybe make soup out of it, or make like a stir fry out of the leftover chicken, or we'll do a roast beef and just have like potatoes, roast beef, and broccoli that night, and then the next day maybe we'll put it on ciabatta buns and make like hot sandwiches out of the roast beef. Yeah, we always make like the big thing, and then I always think about next day, like what can I do with this same meat that I already have, but just make it a little bit in a different way so you're not really getting tired of it by eating like the same meal day after day. But I will say that getting sick of food when we have all these options is truly a first world problem. Before you even like tried to think about eating healthy, you probably were only cooking like less than 10 meals. I'd say more people would be towards like 5 to 6 meals maybe. You're just always on rotation of the same things. So don't get in your head of thinking like, oh, I need to like find a new recipe every week and like come up with a new idea. That's what the point of that supper meal brainstorming thing. The point of it was just to put in like, what are meals that you always make? Meals that are just constantly on rotation in your house, and how can you just continuously incorporate those into your weeks to make things like really easy. And even if you don't want to put them in your weeks and you want to come up with something new, but when the days come that you're like frazzled and you're late and whatever, you can just look back at that list and be like, oh yeah, this is something I always make. I know how to make this. I always have the ingredients for this. Like, let's just do that. So that's the how. Always prep your protein. That is just absolutely the most important thing. Like I said, you can find carbs and fat anywhere. Like last night I was busy at the gym. I stayed way later than I thought. I had to get up super early. I got home last night and I was like, oh my God, I do not want to make this stir fry, but thanks to the challenge, I didn't have popcorn for supper. I made the stir fry. The chicken was already ready to go. The vegetables were frozen. All I had to do was steam broccoli. And then instead of cooking rice, I just have these instant rice noodles. You literally just pour hot water over top of them and they're done in 2 minutes. So carbs are never gonna be a problem to find. However, if you're trying to eat like maybe a different source of carbs, like something that has more nutrients in it, like a sweet potato or a whole potato, then you might wanna have it prepped or at least have a plan for it. But protein is gonna be your number one thing. If you don't meal prep anything, just get some protein cooked or at least thawed with a plan. And I guarantee you, you'll be miles ahead than if you just didn't do that at all. And keep it very simple. You do not need these big complicated recipes with all these new ingredients. You gotta go buy all these spices. Your grocery bill will be insane if you do that. Just stick to things that are very simple. You're gonna see as we go through the challenge that we're gonna work towards what we call the plate method, where you have your plate, half of it's vegetables, a quarter of it is carbs, and a quarter of it is protein. If you have a weight gain goal or maintenance goal, you might want to go a third and a third and a third. But keeping your meals to just like very few ingredients is going to really, really help you make this sustainable. When I went to think of like a recipe to make, I was like, wow, I literally don't know one recipe. Like my recipes include 4 ingredients. It's always beef or meat of some sort of carb, and some sort of vegetable. Super, super simple. I know not every family is gonna love that, and that doesn't mean like broccoli, chicken, rice. It can be a taco wrap. I had a tortilla, I had the meat, I had the cheese, and I had all the vegetables stacked in there. It can be a quesadilla, it could be flatbread pizza. Like there's many different ways that you can take this method and put it into meals without it being super boring and bland. And just by having the ingredients prepped, you can just see what you have and be like, okay, like what can I do with this? Like there's so many times where I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna eat? Oh, well, I have ground beef in the freezer, I have minute rice in the pantry, and I have like a bell pepper and some cheese and tomatoes in the fridge. So let's just throw it in a bowl, and we have a burrito bowl with salsa that's always in there, and we always have either sour cream or tzatziki in the fridge, just no matter what. So if you have those ingredients just there, you can always make something out of it. There's even times where I've just had literally rice and ground beef with like soy sauce, and it's delicious. Add some raw vegetables and you're good to go. Or that bag salad. So I kind of touched on the when, but when should you meal prep? The answer is always going to be what works for you. There's no magic time. Sunday is not a magic day. It's just most people have that day off. But just whenever you have time, literally, like it can be Wednesday night if you're like, oh, kids don't have anything tonight and I'm cooking supper, like let's just throw some extra shit on the barbecue or whatever. It's whenever you have time. That's gonna be absolutely the best way for you. And then if you're already cooking something, that is ideal. That's even less time. If you already have dirty dishes, cook the food in the same dishes, then you don't have to do the dishes twice. And then the where portion. So this I relate to, where is your meal prep going to go? This is really important as far as I'm concerned. I have one spot in my freezer that is for meal prep, and it is for me and no one else. If I offer to have that for a meal with someone else that lives in my house, I will, but otherwise that is my food and no one can touch it. I always know where it is. It never gets lost. I know what it is. I know what it says. I know how I made it. And I always know it's there. So I'm just gonna show you in my freezer what that looks like. This is my little compartment down here where I keep all of my frozen meat. I just cooked a whole bunch of chicken like before Christmas. And this one's Greek marinated. I just put 170 grams Greek chicken. This is how much it weighs cooked. 165 grams raw, so I weighed it raw. Plain beef, very lean. This I didn't meal prep, it's just we had leftover and we weren't eating it, so I just threw it in the freezer. 180 grams prepped, peppered pork chops, barbecue chicken, probably more barbecue chicken, more pork chops. This is another thing that we just weren't eating, so this was like a roast beef with like carrots and stuff. I just took what was left of it, threw it in the bag, and then I can thaw that in a slow cooker someday. I also always have jerky because you just never know, and it freezes just fine. So this is where I'll be putting all of my ground beef that I just cooked, and I will know that it's here, and then when I have nothing to eat and I'm like, oh my god, I can just pull up this chicken, toss it in a salad, throw some rice in there or whatever, maybe eat some popcorn that night, who knows, and we're good. The key is though that I never let that go empty. I never wait till it's like all gone. I'm like, oh my god, I need to meal prep. I start seeing like 4 or 5 days left. I'm like, oh, time to cook some more meat. And I mean, it's frozen. That's the meat I eat every day for lunch. I usually don't ever have like leftovers from the night before for my lunch. I always have those things. So on my lunch planner, I have tacos, salad. I was gonna see if there's something else on there. There is a burrito bowl, which isn't gonna be very likely. Tacos and salad. That's literally what I have every day for lunch, and I love it. I love tacos. I will have chicken in a wrap as well, or I'll just do a salad. Sometimes it's homemade. I have a whole bunch of toppings in my pantry that just make them kind of more exciting, and then all the kinds of dressings. And I make salads like really, really good. I put, sometimes there's fruit in them, sometimes I put dates in them, sometimes there's nuts. I have like wonton crisps and almonds and whatever. I go to restaurants, see like their artisan salads, and then I try to mimic that at home, and always have lots of meat in it. That always makes it better for me. So yeah, I know that no matter what happens, I'm either having a wrap or I'm having a salad for lunch. And if I need more carbs in that salad, I'll just throw some rice or sweet potatoes or whatever in it. Makes it even better. No matter what you do, if you are gonna freeze lots of meat at once, make sure it's labeled well. Otherwise, you won't have a freaking clue what it is and you will never eat it. So label it really well, put a date on it, be as specific as you can. And I guarantee you, if you're like strapped for food, you can go in there and be like, oh, 160 grams of like Greek marinated chicken. Maybe I can make this into a Buddha bowl with some rice, cucumbers, tomatoes, feta cheese, and some dressing. Like super easy. But if you're scrounging through the freezer, it's all scattered everywhere and you have no idea what it is. If it's 3 years old or what it is, it just looks like a frozen dead mouse. You're probably not gonna eat it. But if it's well labeled, you know what it is, you're going to eat it when you need to. And then lastly is the what to meal prep. For me, I only meal prep 2 things basically. I meal prep chicken breasts and I meal prep ground beef. That's literally it. The odd time I'll cook a sweet potato. Otherwise, it's just cooking extra at supper time and squirreling it away in the freezer or in the fridge. But I have a list of some things here. So ground beef is a good one. that can go into taco salad, tacos, burrito bowls, spaghetti meat sauce. You can do spaghetti with spaghetti squash or whatever fits your goals. Hamburger soup. You can put ground beef in omelets. Many different things you can do with that. And then if you like to make your homemade burgers, then that's something you can prep and freeze in patties. Marinating meat is a really good way to prep meat, because then you can just toss it in the slow cooker while you're gone for work and come home. You can even throw some potatoes on top and like literally do nothing to it. Just toss it in there and come home to like a home cooked meal. Chicken breasts, I generally buy marinated chicken breasts because I just really like them, and I'm lazy. And then we always buy skinless, boneless chicken thighs. We have those every week. I love them. Every time we eat them, I'm just like, oh my God, I love chicken thighs. They are relatively lean. They're cheaper than chicken breasts, and they taste a million times better. Just get the boneless, skinless ones. If you get the skin on them, it's really easy to pull them off as well. The way we cook those, we'll do them in the air fryer. Riley likes to put the cornflake breadcrumbs on them and just crisp them right up, put some Frank's hot sauce on there and eat them like that. I like them just plain, and I just put salt and pepper on them, just like salt and pepper wings. You can do like lemon pepper, Greek seasoning, barbecue sauce, literally whatever you wanted. And then you can also do, you may have noticed that I didn't talk about breakfast. I personally don't eat breakfast. I hate it. It is the most annoying meal in the day for me. You do not have to eat breakfast. If you love it, absolutely eat it. There's nothing wrong with eating breakfast, but for me, it just does not fit in my day. It breaks up my morning. I like to just wake up and get to work and just work hard until lunch, and I'll eat my first meal then. But if you do want to prep some breakfast, you can do a whole egg bake where you take a whole bunch of eggs and egg whites, ham, whatever vegetables you want. I would recommend maybe frying them up first before you put them in, and then just put them in a baking sheet, bake it all till the eggs are cooked, put some cheese on top, and then bam, you can just cut it out in slices and eat that for breakfast. You can also just put those in muffin tins, and then you'll have like those egg muffins like Starbucks and Tim Hortons has, and some people in the group have posted those. The sardines and the tuna and the salmon, that's really convenient, the protein powder, the bars. And then also, I don't eat any dairy. Dairy is really bad for my skin. I don't know what it is, but every time I eat yogurt, especially, my skin just breaks out like mad. And a lot of people do have skin issues that is related to dairy, and I'm just one of those people. So I just don't personally eat it. I love Greek yogurt, and it saddens me, but tried it a month ago and my skin went crazy, so here we are. But yeah, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese is really high in protein. All dairy has protein in it. Dairy is made of casein protein, which is just a good protein source to have. So cheese has some too, but that is very much a fat source before a protein source, so don't be eating cheese thinking that you're eating protein. Just know that when you add cheese to foods, it is adding a little bit of protein to your meal. Milk as well. And then frozen seafood is the ticket. So if I'm ever really short on time, I need something really fast, I always have a bag of, we like haddock. It's just like a really mild tasting, really tender fish. We always have this in the freezer. You just put the bag in hot water and it will thaw. We just batter it in fish crisp and then fry it in a little bit of butter. It's so delicious. I loved fish fries growing up, and I still do. If I knew more fishermen, I would gladly eat jackfish, but this is what we're working with. And then we have scallops and usually shrimp in the freezer, which I don't have. But these are just so easy to just toss in a bit of butter, and I use the garlic plus seasoning or like a chili lime seasoning and just fry them up. It's just like a super lean source of protein. And these guys are so lean that if you fry them with butter, it's about the equivalent of eating like beef, because there's just no fat in this. So if you have a little bit of butter or oil when you're cooking it, it's still a very good meal choice. Yeah, and you can just throw shrimp or whatever in a stir fry. They cook within like a minute if you get the, well, all of them really, but most shrimp are already pre-cooked. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. This is probably a little bit all over the place, but I hope that helped. I hope you see that you don't have to have this big elaborate recipe, meal plan thing. You can just wing it as you go and just make sure you're always just like one step ahead with having some protein on hand, and you will just be well on your way. The more protein you can put in into your diet, it is just absolutely going to help you with your aesthetic goals, with your health goals, and your performance goals. Most people are not eating enough protein. It's not a magic macronutrient that's going to like make you lose weight, but there are several different reasons, which I'm not going to get into this video, why it really helps. And it is 100% proven that people who lose weight, maintain weight, and just maintain a healthy lifestyle throughout their lives are eating an adequate amount of protein. And as you age, it's also very important for your body, because think of protein as the building blocks for everything in your body. Imagine the carbs and the fats as the construction workers, but if they have no lumber to build the house, it's gonna be pretty hard to put on additions, to fix repairs, or to build anything. So keep that in mind. I know this is a whole lot about protein, but that's truly what meal prep is. And this upcoming week is about protein. So I hope that you took away a little bit to help you with that. So good luck in your meal prep, and let's continue on crushing this challenge. Okay, truth be told, I completely forgot about the baked sweet potato. It's usually done when the sugars start coming out of it. So it's really hard to overcook this, but it is done. And like I said, you don't peel it because that skin is just going to literally fall right off now. You can just peel it right off. So that's done. There we have it. We have our pork chops marinating, sweet potato, then we have with the pork chops, and I'm gonna cut some up, put it in the burrito bowl. It's just top notch in there. The meatloaf, and then these. So I wrote on here, you don't have to write raw, it's just how I measure meat. 150 grams lean taco beef. You know what I see when I see these? I see 9 delicious tacos that I can't wait to eat every day at lunch. The avocado, I just wanted to mention, if you don't know, you want to buy an avocado that has a a brown stem. If it's not ripe, leave it on the counter for a couple days and it will probably get ripe. Do not leave it on the counter too long. Once it does get ripe, throw it in the fridge and it will stay at that ripeness for quite a while. But they ripen quite quickly on the counter. But if they're in the fridge, they won't. So, little tip there. And if you don't want to write this every single time, sometimes I will just take all of these and put them in a big bag like this and just write on the bag what it is. But I know my gal pal JW is watching and she's probably cringing at the amount of plastic I'm using already, so didn't do that today. And all I have to clean up is these 2 pans, rinse off cutting board, a couple utensils, and we are done.